Hello, readers. I just wanted to make a quick, probably not quick with me, but a bookish update where I am in my reading world. I wanted to talk about some of the books that I have been reading since my last update. First, I have a book that I wasn't planning to read. It was just something I saw in the library's news section. The book is called This is What a Librarian Looks Like, a celebration of libraries, communities, and access to information by Kyle Cassidy. It has stories featuring different authors, basically talking about their experiences with the library the first time they entered a library, and also the thoughts of librarians. It basically looks like this. It's showing all different types of librarians from all over, and they talk about what libraries mean to them, what being a librarian means to them, and different types of librarians. You have librarians from public libraries, medical libraries, college libraries, high school libraries, all over, directors of libraries, children's librarians, everything that you can think of. And then this is like a contribution from an author or artist about their library stories. You also have specific libraries that are featured and talked about. This is the kind of book that I kind of designate in my head as a coffee table book because yes, you can sit down and read it, but it's also just something that you can just flip through and look at the pictures and read specific thoughts. So I really enjoyed this book, and I checked this out from the library, but this is the type of book that I would like to own because this is the type of book that I would flip through over and over again. This is something that I would recommend for anyone who loves books and loves libraries or loves their librarian. Then we have this book again. I've mentioned this book, Mr. Penninbraw's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. This was a blind date book. My library is currently doing their summer reading program, and they had a stack of wrapped books. You saw me unwrap it, and you read it, and you write a little review or summary of the book. I actually really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a really good story. The protagonist's name is Clay Janin. Basically, he got laid off from his job, and he happened to be walking by, and he saw that there was this 24-hour bookstore. He started working there. He's working this late night shift, and this older man, Mr. Penninbraw, gives him all these weird rules. He noticed something strange about the bookstore. The front of the bookstore had regular books, but then towards the back of the store, there's these huge towers of these tomes that he's told that he's not allowed to look at. The people who take these books, they're not purchasing them. They're part of some special club from his viewpoint. And there's these strange people coming in. They're returning one book, taking out another, and his curiosity gets the better of him. He looks in the book, and it just looks like gibberish. Eventually, he starts realizing that there's something way more to this bookstore than meets the eye. Is it a cult? A secret society? What is this? What are they trying to decode? So he goes on this adventure, and I really enjoyed this story. The author said that he hasn't planned to make a series. He did make a small prequel, and I think it's called Ajax Penninbraw 1979 or 1969. It's like more of a novella than a novel. And he said that he wasn't necessarily planning on making a full series, but he's still open to it. If he did decide to continue and expand the story, I would look forward to it. I'm just now trying to get into other book sites and book communities. I'm mainly on Goodreads. After I had finished this book, I happened to look at some of the questions. Someone said, "Do you guys know that this book glows in the dark?" And it does. This is an older copy. It belongs to the library, but this book does glow in the dark. I had to kind of hold it up to the light. I heard that the person who designed the cover got some sort of award. I don't know which editions have a glow in the dark, but if you happen to get your hands on this book, I would check out if it glows in the dark. I definitely would recommend this book. Then we have a book that was a digital that I received access to from First to Read. I mentioned this book already. This book will be coming out tomorrow, and that is Reading with Patrick by Michelle Kuo. Now, I misinterpreted what this book was about originally. I thought that the author, because this is a memoir, I thought that she went to a poor area in the Deep South. I thought she was talking about specific books that she went through the class. And it's really about Patrick. The class she was teaching, like I said, is a poor area. And these kids fell behind. So they're not in like the main school. They're in this like special education school. Some kids legitimately have reading problems, but some of them, they just fell through the cracks. They stopped going and nobody checked in on them, or the parents didn't bother to get them back in school, so they fell behind. All these kids ended up there. First, she had a problem reaching them. I mentioned in my other video that she's Asian American. These kids were Black. You know, she had tried to reach out to them with Black history and they just weren't grasping it. In fact, there was this part in the book that blew my mind. She had a photo, like a blown up photo, like a poster photo, I believe. A photo that was taken during the Civil Rights Movement, and it was a picture of white people that were marching with Black people and Dr. King. And the one kid thought that it was Photoshop because he didn't believe that white people ever helped Black people. And it blew my mind because that's the kind of thing I would assume is common knowledge. I figure that we all know that history, and it blew my mind that these kids were so isolated that they didn't even understand the civil rights movement, that they didn't realize, yeah, there are white people that will help you, because that's the kind of town that they lived in. They did live in, these kids did live in a town where white people didn't care. The whole town slipped through the cracks. The memoir, I'm trying to focus my thoughts because this book really did touch me, so I'm trying to focus my thoughts. The memoir did focus on Patrick. He was one of the kids that just stopped going. And when she started teaching this special class, I believe it was called Stars, there was a point where he stopped going to Stars. And she actually went to his house and knocked on his door. And he never had that before. He never had someone come to his house. He never had someone saying, "What are you doing? Come back to school." She started to actually reach these kids. It started with The Raisin in the Sun. And she started reaching these kids, and she kept thinking, I'm making a difference. It was very hard to read because there was a point where she had to focus on her career. She did leave this area to go to law school, but she felt guilty leaving, and she finally did leave. She found out that Patrick murdered someone. She felt so hurt by it, and then she found out, oh, this girl in this class got pregnant, this girl got arrested, this one's dead, this one stopped going to school. And it struck her so hard because she's like, I didn't do anything. Like, she felt like she failed them. And she started visiting Patrick while he was in jail. He sat in jail for over a year because this was a small town. Most of us are used to a legal court system where you have court every day. This place was like once a quarter or something. It was crazy. So he was just sitting there, where's my court date? He never even spoke to his lawyer. He didn't know what the specific charges were. She talked to the lawyer, but she also made him read. She started visiting him once a week, and she was giving him homework. And she was serious. It didn't matter if he was in jail. She stuck by him, went through poetry. Then she started going twice a week. Then she was going every day. One of the things I didn't mention, but within the time that she had left the Delta area and took her bar and all those things, it was like everything that he learned, he didn't retain. So all of a sudden his handwriting went by the wayside. He relapsed in his grammar. All of a sudden he had trouble reading, and she stuck with him. At first it was kind of slow going because I'm not going to say the beginning was slow, but sometimes it takes time for me to get into it. But it was about a lot of things. It wasn't just about reading and writing. It was just also about how underprivileged people slip through the cracks in education. it's not like I'm not aware of this. I mean, honestly, I grew up in what I guess you can consider an urban area, but you're listening to someone that had some of the highest testing rates in the nation, and that's not a humble brag. That's just how it was with me when I was a kid. As a kid, you don't realize that places are different. I would have never imagined as a kid that there would be an education system where everything's falling apart. As an adult, it really hurts my feelings. It's not like reading this book makes me want to be a teacher. I'm 35 years old, and since I was 18, I've had over and over again, you need to be a teacher, you need to get out there, you need to do special needs, we need you. I couldn't do what she did because she went into a program to specifically get sent to this area. I couldn't do it. It would break my heart. She felt like she didn't make a difference, like, oh, I shouldn't have left. You know, she felt so guilty. And she came back, she deferred her job because she had took her bar and she connected to a firm, and she deferred it because she said, I have to go back. She felt like she failed these kids, but she didn't. The system failed them. But she made a difference with Patrick. By the time she finally left, you know, he ended up having to go to prison. The murder charge went down to manslaughter. Glad I read this book. I would recommend it, but it also gave me that feeling of like an existential helplessness, because it's like, wow, someone do something. And in this day and age, I don't believe that there's anyone that's hopeless when it comes to learning to read and math and all that stuff. But the way things are going with education and budgets and a lot of these areas, they do not have the manpower to sit there and hold a person's hand and get them going. And I think that's really sad. It brought all these feelings, and it reminded me of things that I don't want to be reminded of. I wish that more teachers would share their experiences like this. If it can invoke this kind of feeling in me, someone who has staunchly avoided going into education, then it would definitely bring out the feelings in other people. Like, obviously, I would recommend this book to anyone. This book is a little bit of a heavy read. It will evoke emotion, but at the same time, it did give me hope. When I read about someone who obviously cares so much, it does give me hope, because I know that there are obviously plenty of people in the world like her. They just don't know how to get started. As I said, I don't believe there's anybody that's hopeless. We just gotta change things. We'll figure it out. I'm getting emotional. That book is released tomorrow, July 11th. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is another book from First to Read. It is a digital galley, and this book is called The Library of Fates by Aditi Purana. I apologize for every author whose name I do not pronounce correctly. I am not an insensitive person. I am trying. And this book, it will be released July 18th. It's a romantic coming-of-age fantasy. I haven't read a fantasy in a while. No one is entirely certain what brings the Emperor Sikander to Shalingar. Until now, the idyllic kingdom has been immune to his many violent conquests. To keep the visit friendly, Princess Amrita has offered herself as his bride, sacrificing everything, her family, her childhood love, and her freedom to save her people. But her offer isn't enough. The palace is soon under siege, and Amrita finds herself a fugitive, utterly alone but for an oracle named Thala, who was kept by Sikander as a slave and managed to escape amid the chaos. With nothing and no one else to turn to, Amrita and Thala are forced to rely on one another. But while Amrita feels responsible for her kingdom and sets out to warn her people, the newly free Thala has no such ties. She encourages Amrita to go on a quest to find the fabled Library of All Things, where it is possible for each of them to reverse their fates, to go back to before Sikander took everything from them. Stripped of all that she loves, caught between her rosy past and an unknown future, will Amrita be able to restore what was lost, or does another life and another love await? That sounds fantastic. I can't wait. So I'm probably going to start reading this today. It's after midnight, so when I wake up, I will read this. So that's about it. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and happy reading, and stay cool. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. What is this? I'm wearing deodorant. I just took a shower. Like, this is madness.